Moving into the NFC North, we have an A+ for the Bears. I promise you this is not biased. Dobbs had a higher grade than I did, and he's a Saints fan. So, I mean,
This is true.
obviously, I think adding, Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift, kind of beefing up the depth of their offensive line, getting Jalen Johnson re-signed, Kevin Byard, regardless of how you feel about him last year, I think he'll be an upgrade at safety over Eddie Jackson. And then obviously a very small but also good draft class. You get Williams, Odunze, Amagaji, who apparently teams had graded in their 40s before his injury. And then you get Austin Booker, a developmental edge, and the best punter in the draft. So I can't complain. Probably one of the best off seasons I can ever remember as a Bears fan. So, Dobbs, I'll kind of let you go. I just kind of rambled about him, but I want to see kind of more what you think.
Well, I think, look, here's the bottom line that everybody that is not a Packers, Vikings, or Lions fan is going to agree with, objectively speaking. Like, the Bears took themselves from just being in perennial, just meh. Like, just that's the easiest way to say it, right? Just meh. They're just biased. They're the Bears. Like, they're going to show up and surprise a few teams, but they're the Bears. They went from being that team to like the new era kind of like Bengals/Texans. Like, you guys immediately made that humongous jump. Like, the roster made a humongous leap this last season. And if Caleb can be the guy that, again, I believe he will be, the Bears have literally turned themselves into a perennial competitor in the NFC. The receiving core, it speaks for itself. The O-line is really coming together. Side note, before I move into the defense, I actually want to ask you about this. I'm very curious. I've been taking a look at the Bears depth chart. As of right now, Ryan Bates is listed as your guys' backup guard, and you guys have Coleman Shelton starting at center. I don't know if that's
So
is that how things are going to go, or like
I think it will, because Shelton's been the starting center for the Rams the last 2 years, and Bates has been a kind of swing interior offensive lineman for the Bills. I don't know if you know the whole story about him, but the Bears tried to sign Bates 2 years ago, and he was a restricted free agent, so the Bills matched the offer and kept him. So this is somebody who Poles has wanted for a while. I think so when the trade happened for Bates, a lot of people were like, oh my God, Poles just can't get the center position right. He doesn't invest. And I'm like, bro, this is obviously a depth piece. Like, there's no way after what we watched last year that he's going to repeat the same thing. Poles is at least competent. So that's what he's looking like. He's going to be probably their interior offensive lineman. He's going to be our swing guy. And then I'm imagining Kieran Abagaji is going to be the swing tackle. And Larry Borum is probably going to get the boot this year.
See, and I also wouldn't be surprised, though, because you could be spot on about Kieran. Again, I'm also, and I know I'm in the minority, but I would not be surprised at all if he just up and takes Nate Davis' spot at camp. Like,
At
that
guard.
also something I could totally see that happening.
It's possible. They had talked about, Kieran potentially competing for Braxton Jones' spot, not right away, but even next year, being that starting left tackle.
No, yeah, and then if we move over to the defense, again, you guys really didn't have to do too much because the whole defense's identity is just being young and up and coming and like figuring out how to play together. But like, you made a few damn good additions, especially in Kevin Byard, like a veteran to just come in, really help these young guys to understand where they need to be, especially this DB room who is like very, very young. I mean, it's like the reality of the situation is, just to put it as short as possible, the Bears laid out the blueprint, or not that, they followed the same blueprint that the Bengals and that the Texans have presented, and they followed it to a T, if not potentially better. I mean, again, not to get ahead of myself, but if Caleb is who I think he is, if Rome is who I think he is, if Keenan Allen stays healthy, if this O-line stays healthy, the Bears could genuinely be an 11-12 win team this season. I mean, it's like the Bears have completely flipped the switch.
I really think that they can be like what the Packers were last year, like going to the playoffs, competing. And I will say this, the area I am most concerned about is the head coach. I don't know if Eberflus can win in those late game situations. Like, that is my biggest concern. I have less concern with the offensive coordinator. But overall, if the Bears, which I think they will do, because remember, there's going to be cuts. I think the Bears are still going to add a piece or two on the defensive line. I would not be surprised if at the trade deadline they also trade one of the seconds to go and get a defensive lineman. But a name I think about is Calais Campbell, going and getting a guy like that just to play for 1 year. I mean, they have done the 1 year rentals with Yannick Ngakoue, and it didn't really pan out, but you're really just kind of looking for bodies at this point.
No, absolutely. And again, guys that can make huge jumps. Gervon Dexter could make a huge jump next year. TJ Edwards came in and played much better than expected, really, really filled out that role that Eberflus needs in his defense. I mean, Sanborn had a good jump last year too. Like all the young guys looking that they're going to keep making jumps. I mean, Jalen Johnson with a monstrous jump and then now the extension. Jaquan Brisker. And that's the thing I want to say is like not the biggest jump, but then you bring Kevin Byard in and Kevin Byard is the perfect guy that can really help unlock and elevate Jaquan Brisker to his highest level. Tariq Stevenson right behind Jalen Johnson. I mean, you guys have a fantastic room. Kyler Gordon, a bunch of young guys learning from good older guys. I mean, the Bears have set it up very, very well. And the reality is the Bears they're very much competing for a playoff spot next year. That's just really the only thing you can say at this point. It's up to them to show us how much that the hype has been worth it. But I think that at the least they're a playoff team.
One of the most underrated moves is definitely the punter. I mean, their punting was horrendous last year. And the statistics that show how many points, there's a point differential based on, how well your punting is kind of crazy. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. Another A+ in division, we have the Detroit Lions with an A+. Amazing free agent class, amazing draft class. I just don't know what to do. It's kind of fucking sickening being a Bears fan, watching the Lions become competent quicker than us.
No, the thing about the Lions, I think why it had to be an A+ is it's not even like they didn't make necessarily like all the moves in the world, but they just built perfectly on what they already had and they did everything that they needed to do. Like I say, and I harp on all the time about the Lions, they were already in that situation, right, where, you're essentially a few bad decisions away from being in Lombardi land. Again, I can't guarantee how it would have ended, but against the same team that you beat early week 1 in the season. So if we look at it like that, and you made all the right all the right additions, right? Getting Zeitler and then Glasnow as your replacements for the 2 guards you lost. I mean, that's about as good as you can do far and away for just immediate replacements. I mean, Penei Sewell became officially the best tackle in the league last year, finally surpassing Trent. So not only do you have trenches across the board, you also have the best trenchman in the entire league at this point. Aleem McNeil made a humongous jump last year. You throw DJ Reader right next to him, and then you're going to have Chop Robinson. I mean, it's like,
No, not Chop. Not Chop.
No, not Chop. I'm sorry, not Chop. I'm mixing up other information. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm mixing up information. I don't know why. That's the Dolphins. But the point is, Davenport. With Davenport, here's my thing. Davenport's a good edge rusher, but the reality is, and I'll tell you as a Saints fan, right? Davenport's he's spotty when he's on the field. He plays 1 week, he's not playing the next 2 weeks. When he's out there, he's productive, but he's not out there the whole time. I mean, I think I would have liked to see a little bit more depth get added to the D-line in total, because from a depth standpoint, the Lions D-line is not the most stacked out group in the world, but they have very good starters. If they can stay healthy, the D-line is stacked. If not, we're going to have to ask some questions. That's really the main thing to monitor for the Lions, because other than that, they have really come and built just a very, very productive team where you can't really sit here and say much. I mean, we're now at a point where Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold, and Ennis Rakestraw are going to be the starting 3 corners. I mean, their backup safety, I'm still mispronouncing his name a little bit here, but Ifeatu Melifonwu was playing fantastic last year when he had to step into that role. And if he gets to play backup, we're loaded on DB depth, which was now all of a sudden the biggest issue we had last year if you're a Lions fan. I mean, the Lions are sitting in a position where That Super Bowl window is literally being jammed open with a crowbar.
Watching the Lions get Terrion Arnold and then get see them get, ooh, I'm screwing up my words. Seeing them get Ennis Rakestraw Jr., I wanted to throw up. Like, these are both really good. Like, Terrion Arnold, my top corner in the class. Ennis Rakestraw was amazing. Like, I don't, it's just the fact that they were able to address that room so easily in the draft. And I know they gave up some capital, but to go get Terrion Arnold to be your CB1, just, I don't know. The Lions are sickeningly killing it. Moving on to the Green Bay Packers. We have them with a B. I like their draft class a lot more than their free agent class. I know the Packers really don't do much in free agency, regardless. And Jordan Morgan, I think, was a little bit polarizing for Packers fans because, oh, we can develop linemen, or Jordan Morgan's not that good. Like, Jordan Morgan is, yeah. Well, so here's my thing. Dobbs, do you think he's going to play guard, or do you think he's going to play tackle?
Well, I'll say this. As of right now on the depth chart, if it
He's
helps
listed at tackle.
if this was to lead, yeah, if this leads anyone to any conclusions, he's currently listed at left tackle. And I do believe he is going to be that left tackle. And again, I'll echo Bill Belichick's words, the man, the GOAT himself. On the McAfee broadcast, he, and I saw it afterwards, he said, man, dude, this guy is a smart player. I would not touch him. I would leave him at tackle. Belichick tried to tell y'all, man, this guy is a tackle. Look, yes, does he have the movement and all that to be a guard? Absolutely. But again, I'll keep harping on it. The film doesn't lie, guys. The film doesn't lie. Go watch Arizona versus UCLA. Go watch him the entire I think it was the first half. Might have been the second half. It was one of the two, obviously, versus Laiatu Latu. If you can turn on that tape and come to the conclusion that he shouldn't be left at tackle, I personally just don't know what to tell you, because he showed you that he has everything to be very productive tackle at the next level off of just one half of tape alone against Laiatu Latu. Dominated in the run game, dominated in the pass game, dominated on sweeps. He's fantastic getting out. He's fantastic off of the line. He is everything you need in an offense where running the ball has always been the bread and butter. He is going to provide you guys a long-term starter, which is why I've been kind of hurt that the Packers aren't seeing the vision. Packers fans, you guys have been tweaking on my boy Jordan Morgan.
So that's the other thing, is they signed Josh Jacobs, which can be basically a one-year deal. They brought back A.J. Dillon, but I really did like the addition of Marshawn Lloyd. I think he could be a really good player for them. And then also, after losing to Tavondre Campbell, you add Edgerrin Cooper. I think they, he can pretty much do whatever you ask him to do. The only thing I am concerned about is I do like the addition of Javon Bullard, but I don't necessarily know if they addressed the cornerback room as much as they should have. It looks like they took 3 safeties in this draft, so I don't know if they're thinking about trying to convert one to corner or kind of what the move is there. They've obviously addressed it with McKinney for one of the spots, but overall, I think really the only weakness on the Packers right now is probably a little bit of O-line depth, which they drafted a center in Jacob Monk. But I would say overall, I'm most concerned about their cornerback room.
No, absolutely. I mean, to touch on the cornerback room, like let's just break it down for what it is right now. Eric Stokes is your number 2 corner, who has already been very, very shaky to say the least, right? And then corner 3, Carrington Valentine. Corner 4, Keyshawn Nixon, right? Like, if you're a Packers fan, that's not who you want to be hearing is going to be stepping on the field if something happens to one of your 2 starters, or, for both. Like, you're in a situation where teams are going to be throwing the ball however they want all over you. No disrespect to those guys, but I don't think they're ready to step into starting roles. And those are guys that I think on a lot of other teams would be 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, at least on a lot of depth charts. You got them at 3rd and 4th, and I meant to say 4, you my point, 5, 6, 7. Like, having them as your immediate depth right behind Jair Alexander. And again, Eric Stokes on a lot of teams is not even a starting corner. It's like the depth you have here as Packers fans, it's got to worry you. I mean, that's definitely the number one thing about this team that has to be addressed if they're going to make a deep playoff run. To me, there's no other way around that.
Moving into the final team of the NFC North, we have the Minnesota Vikings with a B plus. Now, I think they personally had a very, very good draft. What scares me is the capital that they've given up. But I think what I liked a lot about their free agency class is you add those edges. You add Grenard, you add Van Ginkel, you add Blake Cashman. So you do a lot of work on that defensive line. I think something that was kind of left untouched, again, is the cornerback room. Lewis Cine has not been the player that you wanted him to be, and they took Kyrie Jackson, who I think is a very good player, and I think, is a big corner for them, but I don't know if you should be expecting him to really be your top corner in the room. If you look at their, it's Byron Murphy Jr. Oh, I forgot they got Byron Murphy. Let me stop. I like Byron Murphy, but I don't know outside of that. You have a Caleb Evans, Josh Metellus, Shaquille Griffin.
And Josh Metellus is kind of like an all over the field guy, especially in the Flores system. I mean, one snap Metellus is playing corner, the next snap he's playing D tackle for them. I'm not even kidding. He's literally all over the field, like literally Mr. Do Everything. So it's like, where is the corner depth?
Yeah, I don't know, but obviously they get their quarterback of the future. I think that solidifies kind of they're looking ahead. Obviously, they were forced to once Kirk Cousins left. But do you think that they play McCarthy this year? I really think they need to sit like Drake May, but I mean, I feel like they're more likely to sit him than the Patriots would be with May. But what are you feeling on this?
Same as I say about May. I'm gonna keep it short, simple, to the point. If they hold on to him and let him actually develop how he needs to develop, which we've seen, it's definitely the case. I think he will be a very productive pro for a long time, and he can really elevate this team. He gets thrown in the fire this year, I think we see a broken quarterback by year 2 or 3, and the fan base is turned on him, and it's a whole mess. And I see it very black and white like that.
All right, now let me ask you this. Who is going to a better situation, Caleb Williams or J.J. McCarthy?
Caleb Williams, far and away. Now, albeit, it's hard to argue against having Justin Jefferson, but minus the Justin Jefferson as a whole, the Bears situation is just, in my opinion, far and away better.
I see. Even as a Bears fan, I have thought it has been the Vikings, because Justin Jefferson obviously is the best receiver in football. You have a better O-line, and you have Kevin O'Connell. I think the coaching is a big thing. Yes, I like Shane Waldron. I don't think he's Kevin O'Connell. And I think the situation in Minnesota is better. I don't think it's like crazy, like far away, but overall, I think it is better in Minnesota. And I think obviously adding the running back in Aaron Jones was huge, because that was something we saw that they struggled with a lot last year.
No, absolutely. And also, assuming that he'll still be here when JJ gets in, he gives JJ the perfect outlet man out of the backfield, as Aaron Jones always was for Aaron Rodgers, and he's always been. Like, he's that guy who, and for Jordan Love last year, like, you need someone to leak out, plays breaking down. I need my guy on the flats. Aaron Jones isn't going to let you down, right? Like, that'll be definitely a very nice security blanket to have for any young quarterback.
All right, halfway through the league, we're moving to the